Hello, welcome to my Pen Cipher presentation. Today, I will be explaining what a Pen cipher is, where it came from, and how it is used. For those of you who may not know what a cipher is, a cipher is just another word for code, a secret way of writing messages. Now let me show you what a Pen cipher is. This here that I'm highlighting in purple, oops, right here, this is what a Pen cipher looks like when it's encoded, which means this is what it looks like when it's in code. Now, this here above, this right here, is going to be the key that is needed to be able to decode a Pen cipher. This cipher, the Pen cipher, is a geometric simple substitution cipher where you exchange letters for symbols. These geometric symbols are fragments from two different grids. These two grids, as you can see on the key, one of them being a tic-tac-toe grid, which most of us are familiar with, and the other one is an X grid. The way you use this key is by filling up the first you use two tic-tac-toe grids, then you use two X grids. Now on this grid right here, if you can see the difference is that on this grid there's a dot added, and on the second X grid also there's a dot next to the letter. So for the first one, you go ahead and just write the letters as is. For the second one, you go ahead and write the letters with the dot. You fill in the rest of the letters as is. And then for the last one, you go ahead and fill in the letters with the dot as well. Now, this is called a Pen cipher because each letter acts as a pig inside of its own pen, if you see here. This A acts as a pig, and the geometric shape around it acts as its pen. Now the pen is a geometric shape that surrounds each letter, as what I highlighted here in red. So for example, that letter A, the geometric shape would be this right here. Now, for the letter C, let's try a different one. Let's go with letter E. Letter E would be this geometric shape right here, which is, we all know what this is. It's a square. So right here, for letter E, the symbol we would use is this one right here. Now, for the next tic-tac-toe grid, let's use letter O. Letter O, the geometric shape that surrounds O would be this one right here. So the letter O would be this geometric shape, which looks like a C. Let's go ahead and try the next one, which is the X grid. So let's go ahead and do S for an example. So the letter S has a V shape That's what symbolizes the letter S, which is like this. And for the next one, let's go ahead and try X. Now, I actually made a mistake back here. So for the letter O, it's the second tic-tac-toe grid, which you need a dot. So the dot would go right about there. Sorry about that. Now let's go back to the X. Let's not make the same mistake we did. Let's not forget this dot right here. So for the X, the shape would be this one right here. So let's write X. X is going to be this symbol right here with the dot, right? Now that I've showed you examples, and before we jump into decoding a Pen cipher, I want to take you back to history and show you exactly where all of this was created. So go ahead and follow me to the next slide, and let's go ahead and talk about some history. Now let me take you back all the way to the 18th century. This is the history of the Pen cipher. This cipher has an interesting history, although its origin is unknown. Hyson claims that this cipher was invented by the Freemasons. And also, at a time, the Freemasons used it so much that this cipher also was known as a Freemason cipher. They began to use it in the early 18th century to keep their records of history and rights private between lodge leaders. The Freemasons, if you did not know, is a leading fraternal organization in the world founded by brotherly love, relief, and truth. They are also known to have rich history and moral teachings. This, this cipher can also be found on tombstones of Freemasons as their engravings. This cipher was not only used by the Freemasons, but it was also found to be used by Union prisoners in Confederate camps to communicate during the American Civil War. Although this cipher is not so hard to use and it's very easy to read, till this day, the Pen cipher is still being slightly used. Now, let's go over the key again, and let's go ahead and do some examples. So here, I have created a key for each letter, as in for B, you have it right here, and that's the symbol for B. Now for Q, this is the symbol for Q. Remember, don't forget the dot. Now let's see, for U, it's right here. And for Z, it's right here. And don't forget the dot. So this is, it's quite simple to make the key for this once you get the hang of it and understand how to read this cipher. Now on the next slide, we're going to go ahead and try to do an example together. So let's go ahead and do that. Now that we have reviewed the key, and I have brought the key here for us, let's go ahead and try to decode as a Freemason would do in the 18th century. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and start with this symbol. Let me use a different color. Let's go ahead and start with this symbol right here. This symbol, as you can see, matches the letter C. So let's go ahead and write the first letter, letter C. Now, the next symbol, let's go ahead and look for it. It's the letter I. the letter I. Now, this third one is actually from the second tic-tac-toe grid. Let's go ahead and see if we can find it. That one would be the letter P, right? Because it's just like the first tic-tac-toe, but it has a dot. So right here, we're going to go ahead and write P. It's kind of looking already like a message. Can anybody guess what it already says? Let's go ahead and look for the next symbol right here. So it's going to be from the first tic-tac-toe, it's going to be the letter H. Right here. Now, the next one is a full-on square, which has no dot, so it should be from the first tic-tac-toe. Looks like the letter E here. Oops. Letter E. The next one is from the second tic-tac-toe because it has a dot. I'm sure the Freemasons were a lot faster than this. But we're barely getting started, so we just need some practice. That right here would be the letter R. And for the last letter, that one's different. This one would be from the first X grid since it doesn't have a dot. So this one looks like the letter S right here. All right, so we've completed our first word. It says ciphers. Let's go ahead and move on to the next word. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do this one right here, which is for the first one, which is A. Letter A. Then we got one from the second tic-tac-toe grid because it's got the dot. There we go. Looks like letter R. Then we got the square again. We know what that one is. That's the letter E. Oops. Right here. Now, ciphers are, all right. That's the second word. Let's go ahead and go to the third one. Now we got the V, which is from the first X grid. This one would be the letter S. The next one has a dot, so it must be from the second tic-tac-toe grid. O spells so. Ciphers are so. Let's move on to the next one. There we go. Now the L shape, we've done that one already. So that one's a C. The next one, oh, there's two that look just the same right next to each other. It has a dot, so it must be from the second tic-tac-toe. Looks like the letter O here. Can you guess what the last letter is? So this is just like the first letter, but this one has a dot. So it must be from the second tic-tac-toe grid, which looks like the letter O. I mean the letter L, I'm sorry. The letter L. So here our message is, ciphers are so cool. Cool. Now that we have done the first example, let's go ahead and try another one. This was kind of fun. Alright, let's go ahead and do this next one. Let's try to be a bit faster than the first example. Here we go. Let's do this word first. So we got this one for the first one, which is G. Then we got two symbols that look just the same, but they've got the dot. So that one must be, it's the letter O. Oops. Let's use the red here. So we got 2 letter O's. And the fourth one should be from the first tic-tac-toe grid. The letter D right here. Move on to the second word. Here we go. Now, well, that's a new one. That should be from the first X grid, which is the letter T right here. Next one is the first, so letter H. Letter H. The next one is the letter I. Letter I. The next one is a square with a dot, so that must be from the second tic-tac-toe. Should be the letter N. Then we go back to the first tic-tac-toe. Again, this is the letter G. Second time using that one. I'm going to do the letter G. And the last letter for that word is the V with no dot, so that's got to be the S. Right here. Good things. Alright, let me go ahead and clean this up here. Let's move on to the next one. So this one should be the letter A, letter R, and the letter E. So A-R-E, R. Well, let's move on to the next one. Here we go. We have the letter C, the letter O, C-O. Let me write those down before I forget. Now we got the next one, which is also from the second tic-tac-toe. It's the letter M. It's got a dot. So now we have the first letter I. And we have the square with the dot should be letter N. And the last one here should be the letter G. And we have decoded our message, which says good things are coming. And well, I hope so for you and I. And thank you for joining me today in my Pen Cipher presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you.